Have you ever wanted to hack meditation to make it better through like some really easy things that cut across the problems and instantly provide good results? Two of the hacks I want to cover today are the posture and the breathing. It's going to help with focus and stability. They're going to help you guide you into genuine meditation and help stabilize it. So, the first thing to say is that meditation is an active practice. It requires deliberate techniques and thoughtful, subtle refinement. The better you get at it, the more nuanced these refinements are. So, we're going to start with the posture. The primary posture is called the 7-point posture of Vairochana or Marpa. So, the posture has a lot of benefits. It aligns the nadis, the channels that are in the body, in the subtle body, and it promotes the flow of prana, the vital energy, the strength of life, and the flow of the mind and consciousness. It allows the subtle element of consciousness to travel throughout the body. Just lets everything flow. Good posture is said to be really one of the core techniques. If you get the proper posture and you maintain it without moving, then your body is already meditating. And if you can get your body into meditation, your mind will tend to follow. That's one of those rules. So let's start with the back and neck alignment and the legs. So sit with your legs crossed and get a good strong back. Keep the neck slightly retracted rather than pushing it forward. There's a tendency in our society to sit like this and push the neck out. A lot of people do that. If you look, the neck is it's forward. It's not aligned with the body. So you wanna counter that with this. Some say tuck the chin in like so. Whatever it is, just be mindful of it and don't overdo it to where it's super distracting. But a little bit of distraction will work itself through just by doing this. It'll start to feel normal, and then it'll start to feel good. This is very strong because it creates a good energy flow in the neck. Hand placement. So rest the hands on the knees or hold them in a meditation mudra. So on the knees, I'm not really set up with the camera like that, but just place them on the ends of the thighs, not really quite on the knees, but your fingers just touching the knees. Or this is the meditation mudra and you settle it into your lap. You can make an egg like that or something like this. It doesn't really matter, but just let it rest gently in your lap. The next point is the tongue position. This is one that a lot of people don't do. I don't necessarily do it all the time myself, but I'm going to include it for thoroughness. So you place the tip of your tongue just behind your teeth without touching. La, 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 la. And then you just barely open your mouth. And technically, I don't really do this myself, but it is worth experimenting with to see how it feels. It can be helpful. So you breathe simultaneously through both the nose and the mouth. And it can kind of harmonize the energy flows. It can bring the mind into focus. It does something. So it's worth training with, at least on and off. And sometimes it can be a really nice hack just to say my mind is not working well. And if you do that, it'll bring the mind into focus. The next one is one of the most important points for drawing the mind in, for gathering it. And that's the gaze. So you want to direct your gaze downward in front of you about 4 to 6 feet on the floor. This is for shamatha practice. You want it to be slightly unfocused. This gaze steady in front of you helps to stabilize the emotional content of the mind. It helps to subdue thoughts. And if your mind is really scattered, there's a lot of thoughts. They aren't necessarily a lot of emotion, but just sort of bubbly thoughts that are going on. You can draw the gaze in a little tighter. That's said to help. Do it with your eyes, not with don't you tilt your head forward, but just bring your eyes in a little bit more. one technique that can be very powerful, and I'm slightly hesitant to say this, but it can be very strong, is to have the gaze look more or less straight ahead. This focuses more on power, and it can be difficult to maintain the settledness of mind. But if you do have, your mind is somewhat settled and just a little bit unsettled, then look straight ahead and keep the eyes completely still. The eyes tend to make micro movements when we meditate, and all the time. When you meditate, you can tune into these micro movements, and by arresting them and keeping the eyes completely still, the mind will follow the eyes and it will go still as well. This is it is a very powerful technique, and it takes 5 or 6 minutes when you're doing it. But if you do it and time yourself for that long, then let the mind follow the eyes, still itself, and gather its energy in. The next one is to utilize breathing techniques. So cover the posture. Now it's the breathing. So conscious, unmanipulated breathing is very important in meditation. It goes up to all the levels of meditation, no matter how good you get or what you're meditating on. At the level of basic shamatha, it's important to develop that relationship with the breathing. It becomes super, super important later. So if you develop a good relationship with it and a good feeling for it in a physical sense and now, then those other components and aspects of the breathing that come in through more advanced meditations will be easy to just incorporate. You'll already have glimmerings of them just by stabilizing the mind on this. But you can't jump ahead to that. You need to make this relationship with the physical process of your being and the physical process of breathing. And then by taking it step by step, it'll be very powerful and correct later. It won't be woo-woo. It won't be a sort of mental game or a fabrication. It'll be genuine. So you need to anchor your attention by observing the breath's impermanent quality. Or you can look at it as the connection to the flow of life itself. You can come up with other things too, right? So breathing comes in, goes out. You can concentrate on just the breathing in through the nostrils, just the very tip of that point. This is very precise, it's very basic, but it can bring the mind in very solidly and strongly. You can expand that out. You can just go with the out breath. That's a technique I first started with, and then drop it for the in breath. There's a sense of space and openness. That's a difficult technique, and it takes time to master, but it creates a lot of what's called vipassana, or insight. It sets the stage very nicely for insight. Can also feel the flow of the breathing going in and out of the body. You can feel it going down and going into your cells and expanding throughout the body. You can feel it change as you're sitting there. Sometimes it speeds up a little bit and breaths go a little bit shallower. It's kind of the opposite of what we would think, but naturally when the body goes into meditation, the breaths go just a little bit faster and a little bit less deep. You can manipulate it, but it's generally not recommended without a clear guidance on what you're doing and why. Otherwise, what's the point? What we're doing now is making a relationship with the breathing and making a relationship with our mind. So using those two hacks, calling them hacks, are actually basic technique, but they feel like hacks when you do them and you do them properly. You can be very surprised at how quickly meditation can turn from a struggle to a really blissful and enjoyable situation. And stick with it. I've got 6 more hacks, so there's another video, and that one covers the definition of meditation and the reminder of the technique, and those are extremely powerful and helpful.